Hey folks, let's talk about Deontology or Kantianism. Up to this point, you should have read the excerpt in your packets on Deontology or Kantianism. If you have not done that, you should do that before watching this. This screencast is not intending to cover all the points of the reading or to rehearse those, although there will be some overlap. I will echo some points from that. I will also provide some different information. So, for instance, you may have noted some key terms that were not in the reading. I will go over those today in this screencast. Okay, let's roll. All right. So, doing the right thing or following the moral law requires individuals to perform duties. There are two kinds of duties. There are perfect duties and there are imperfect duties. Perfect duties are categorical. That is, circumstances do not matter, all right? You may not lie, you may not cheat, you may not steal, murder, okay? These are never okay, and no matter the circumstance, okay? And that's what categorical means. It means no matter the circumstance. Imperfect duties allow you some flexibility, okay? Circumstances do matter, all right? And rather than with perfect duties where they're generally, though not exclusively, things to avoid, right? Lying, cheating, stealing. Perfect duties are generally, though not exclusively, things that you should do, like helping others, developing your skills in some aspect. Okay, we'll start with imperfect duties and then we'll go to, start with perfect duties and then we'll go on to imperfect duties. All right, perfect duties. Kant starts with this idea that reason is what distinguishes humans from other animals, okay? And because humans reason, humans deserve respect, okay? And we show respect to humans by acting with what he calls a goodwill intent, all right? Intent is what matters for Kant, all right? And that is definitely something that was noted in your readings. Let's go through this example that actually is one that Kant himself uses, this idea of a shopkeeper, okay? And we're going to play out two scenarios. One will fulfill the moral duty, right? And another will fail, all right? This one passes, all right? The shopkeeper charges everyone the same price because it is fair and right to do so, all right? This is goodwill intent. And they're showing respect to the shopkeeper. Okay? Here's another example. What if rather than charging everyone the same out of goodwill just because it was the right thing to do, what if we have a shopkeeper that says, I charge everyone the same price because I want to keep a good reputation, all right? Kant will say that this is focused on consequence rather than intent, all right? So, as a result, this fails to fulfill the moral law, all right? This shopkeeper is not charging everyone the same because it's the right thing to do. They just are thinking, if I charge everyone different prices, word might get out and I'll lose my reputation, all right? So I want people to keep coming to my store, right? This is my business after all. So not that I care about the customers, but I do care about having consistent monies coming in, right? Therefore, I'm going to charge everyone the same price because I want to keep a good reputation and keep my customers. All right, the action is the same, charging the same price, right? But one is focused on the goodwill intent, right? It's the right thing to do. Another one is focused on the outcome of the action that you're making, right? And when you're focused on the outcome, Kant would say this fails. You need to act with goodwill intent, with the right reasons, right? The right motives. And those motives come from goodwill intent. All right. There's nothing in it for you necessarily as a consequence. All right. So if we were to break this down, and this is what was covered in your reading, you have the categorical imperative. All right. We're going to break this down. We're talking about perfect duty here, right? In order to see if something passes the categorical imperative, you need to establish a maxim, which is a rule that guides action, very simply, all right? And this rule is a general rule, right? So this maxim will say, I will not overcharge customers to ensure my reputation. Okay, we need to pass these through the different formulations. And the first formulation is you universalize the action, right? Can I endorse a world in which all people abide by this rule? Can I endorse a world in which all shopkeepers do not overcharge customers because they're concerned about reputation? I mean, in this scenario, shopkeepers aren't necessarily really, again, focused on serving the customers as much as they are serving themselves. At the same time, however, I can almost envision a world in which this works. I think of like Yelp, for instance, right? How Yelp keeps certain businesses, I don't know, accountable, right? And ensure that there's fairness. And maybe some businesses treat customers well because they don't want those horrible Yelp reviews, all right? So can I envision this world? I think I kind of can, actually. Sadly. All right, second formulation. Humans are rational and deserve respect. Am I treating people with respect, or am I treating them as a means to an end? In this one, I would have to say that overcharging customers, or not overcharging customers to ensure my reputation, is using people as a tool, right? You're not respecting them. You are avoiding overcharging to ensure your reputation. So they are just sort of a player in a larger game of you serving yourself, right? And then therefore, you are using these people as tools and not respecting them. So in my mind, this would fail the second formulation and therefore would fail to be moral law, right? This maxim would not go on to moral law, right? It would not work. Okay. So breaking this down. So this fails. And I think largely because this one was. I'm curious to know what you think about the first formulation. If it passes or doesn't pass the first formulation, I'm actually not quite too sure. My hunch is that it might. I don't know. As much as I don't like to say that. Okay. What if we change the maxim to, I will not overcharge customers because it's the right thing to do? Can I endorse a world in which all people abide by this rule? All shopkeepers are doing what they regard as the right thing to do. Yeah, I can. Are they respecting people? Yes, they are. This passes. All right, let's keep moving. Imperfect duties. Okay. To begin, Kant does prioritize the fulfillment of perfect duties over imperfect duties. Perfect duties are more important, okay? There is a hierarchy here. They're categorical. You don't have choice. You have to do them. Imperfect duties, you have some flexibility, all right? And at the same time, you are still required to fulfill imperfect duties, even though you have some leverage on when, where, how you perform these, all right? So these are generally things that you should do rather than things that you should avoid, all right? And we sort of explain that. These are flexible and conditional, some key terms there, all right? So as opposed to a categorical no, all right, this is a flexible yes, all right? So this is what we will call the hypothetical imperative. If I swim, I'll become healthier. And that's also a maxim. That's a general rule to live by, all right? For Kant, it needs to make sense, though, right? If I swim, I'll do better on my math test. That doesn't really make sense. So you got to make sure that sort of the conditions and the outcomes align, Okay, and that's how we'll know if it passes a hypothetical imperative or not. Or else, and also if you have the resources to do that. If you said, if I swim, I'll become healthier. Okay, do you have access to a lake or a pool? No. This would, again, sort of fail, right? So sort of the reasonability of it, and then also whether the condition and the outcome align. These are important for hypothetical imperatives. All right, if I swim, I'll become healthier. If I shoot hoops 2 hours a day, I'll become better at basketball. All right. These are hypothetical imperatives. All right. Still important for you to do. You have some control over how you do them. All right. So some imperfect duties are, right? Maybe you caused some harm and you want to repair some harm that you caused. Expressing gratitude, fulfilling justice, acting generously, improving yourself, okay? Self-improvement is an imperfect duty. Avoid doing harm, all right? That's another imperfect duty, right? Okay, that's all I have to say as far as supplementing your Kantian reading or Deontology Kantianism reading. Do make sure that you've done that, and you should have also been taking notes in your reader as well. If you are listening to this because you missed class, please note that there are a couple of pages. You work right up until sort of that red bar. There are a couple of pages with questions. So one is applying the scenario to what we did in class last time. And then there's a new scenario for you to look at and answer questions. And again, the goal is sort of, one, what do you think? But then also, two, applying deontology or Kantianism to those scenarios. All right, that's all I have to say. Reach out with any questions.